Hi, I'm Penny. Okay. Might be a little, I hadn't done this in a while, so maybe a little camera shy. You might see me moving around from time to time. I'm making some tea right now. And it's Indian tea. It's boiling, so I'm going to kind of let it do that. Anyway, um, I'm seriously thinking about starting, I don't know if I want to call it Wake Up America, Smell the Coffee America, whatever. I'm still thinking about it, but the thing that's been going on in my head, and a lot of times in the morning I wake up and I have these things going on in my head. It's like these things are like so much common sense. But before I say anything, I got a disclaimer. I want to keep myself legal and above board so I don't go to jail for having an opinion. Okay? I am not a medical doctor. I am not a therapist. I have not gone to college for any of this stuff whatsoever. Everything that I say, and I will probably write some of this stuff down later and put it on different sites, Facebook or my ministry site or whatever. Everything that I say is based on opinion, experience, common sense, observation, stuff like that. At the same time, like I read books and all this and that, but the books I read, if it feels right, if it's common sense, if it's observation, but if it's whack, it's whack. I don't care if somebody is an author. I don't always agree with everything everybody writes, and I don't always agree all with one person. What I decide is based on observation, opinion, whatever. Okay? So, I don't want to go to jail because I know that I can go to jail if I tell you the prune juice will cure constipation. It doesn't matter what the truth is. Okay? Anyway. Also, since at this point I've got no advertising going on, I'll do my own advertisement. I make jewelry. Okay? It's kind of my Valentine's Day stuff right now. And I do sell it. I've got my Valentine's Day jewelry going on here. Like this one I actually gave a name. I call it Sweetheart. And it's got a little bracelet to go with it. The bracelet comes with it. You don't pay for it. If you don't want it, the cost doesn't go down on it, and I would end up selling the bracelet anyways and making more money. So, but this one I call Sweetheart. And then I've got other jewelry going on. Like here is some jewelry made with a bracelet with rose quartz and stuff. So let's give you a quick idea of some of the jewelry that I've made. Okay, another one made with rose quartz and so on. And then these, and then my Green Man jewelry. Okay, that's my advertisement. Might as well advertise for my own thing. It's free. Okay, America, open your freaking eyes. America, open your eyes. This morning I was thinking about drugs. Okay, from my observation and my opinion. Okay, drugs, whether they're illegal drugs or whether they're prescribed drugs, from what I observed in my life, and I'll give you some examples, it's something done as an escape. It's kind of a laziness. It's easier to pop a pill and go through your high and focus on this high that you're going through or the relaxed feeling that it gives you or whatever than it is to deal with the circumstances that you're trying to escape. It appears easier. Let's put it that way. Often what we do on the lazy way out, and there will be eruptions, often what we do in the lazy way out, come on, Rhonda. Come on, Boogie. I'm letting the dogs in. We think it's easier, but in the long run, it's not. And I'm going to give you some examples from my own life and from my own observations of other people I know without saying names. Okay? Now, as a young girl, if anybody would want to escape from reality, I would be one of them. I'm not going to pull this, oh, you poor me. Some people had worse circumstances than I do. Some not quite as bad, but still something they want to escape from. It doesn't matter if it's worse or if it's not worse. You're under certain stress, you're under stress. I was the young girl that was made fun of in school. Hardly a day went by that I didn't have some kind of hell I had to deal with, and often got into fights. I was pushed, I was beaten, I was beaten on the head by a girl who I didn't even know, simply because of who I was. Okay? Then I come home, and my dad would just tell me he didn't want to hear it. If I'm going to cry, go to my room and cry. I didn't have much sympathy from anybody. I had to deal with going to school, being tormented, coming home to an alcoholic father who also, when my mom went to college, decided that I needed to replace her in the bedroom. I was under stress. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have never done drugs, because I would be lying. But I will tell you this. I never got heavy into it. I experimented with it simply because I was curious. And I was curious because I kept hearing all through elementary school about how bad drugs are and all this and that. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing. I'm saying it was a good thing I heard that, which is probably one of the reasons that got me to decide not to stick with it. Because even if I've never heard how bad, I would have still got curious once I've heard about them. Once I found out about them, I would have gotten curious. But if I'd never heard how bad they are, I might not have known that, and perhaps I would have gotten stuck on them. But that always stayed in my head. And I experimented with them. I can see the appeal to people, focusing on the high and all this stuff. But I didn't care to not be in control of my mind. Okay? Meanwhile, my brother got onto drugs. He was the one that introduced me to it. And a friend of his, who was a brilliant young man, and good looking, I remember that, got hooked on drugs and overdosed. But he didn't die. So they decided, the doctors in their wisdom decided that he was going through a major depression and he needed to be put on medication. Years later, after I on my second husband, who I did it right the second time, and we went on vacation, and I ran into his mother and found out he's still on prescription drugs. And I says, didn't he almost overdose from the drugs? And she says, well, yeah. I says, then they put him on drugs. And she says, well, he was self-medicating. I didn't bother saying anything to her, my opinion on self-medicating. If you ever listen to the commercials, they say they use the word may, right? May, might, and could be. May be a chemical connection. Might help. Or maybe a chemical disorder or whatever. Might help. They don't know. But what they do know is it's easier to prescribe a pill than it is to counsel for them. Even though that they come right out and say 2 out of 3 people did not get over their depression on antidepressants. So let's prescribe Abilify, which almost killed my son. My brother was taking antidepressants when he committed suicide. And the side effects, one of them may cause suicidal thoughts. Come on. How are we letting this stuff slide? Why are we letting it slide? Because it is easier. It is easier to just prescribe a drug. In this way, they can get money. The drug companies can get money. The pharmaceutical companies can get money. And say, take this for your depression. And if that don't work, take this. And if that don't work, take this. I've been prescribed antidepressant drugs. You know what? They didn't work. I was smart enough to know that all this was doing was making me high. It was making me walk and letting my daughter, 2 years old at the time, walk out into a parking lot with cars running around where a friend of mine had to go grab my 2-year-old daughter because I was too drugged up on antidepressants. And then some of them say, oh, it's working. Well, I don't know. I'm not them, but my opinion on this is for the same people who take the illegal drugs. Oh, it's working is basically helping me to escape from the reality that I do not want to deal with. Chemical disorder, chemical imbalance. I'm going to tell you something. When I was a teenager and I was going through all of that crap in my life, I was depressed. I was so depressed I couldn't stand to live. It hurt to live. It hurt to live. And that's an easy, if you want to, chemical imbalance. How about this? I was not taught how to deal with this stuff. When I would cry to somebody, I was told things like, get over it. Life is rougher when you turn into adult. That was bullcrap. And a lot of other stuff from people who didn't know how to deal with what I was going through. And I was not taught how to deal with it. So I got depressed. I had suicidal thoughts. But you know what? The lazy way is to take the drug. Whether it is illegal or legal. I mean, what's the difference between the doctor and the drug dealer? A degree. Whether it is illegal or whether it is a legal drug. The lazy way is to take that and not have to face up to reality. Not have to deal with it. But when I decided that I was going to deal with it, it may have taken quite a bit of time. But you know what? I dealt with it. I fixed the problem. I found out what the problem was. I am not responsible for what this person does and that person does and that person does and that person does, but I am responsible for how I act and react to it. And when I said to myself, okay, I can't make this person do this. It doesn't matter how unfair it seemed. What can I do? Why is it me that they're picking on? What do they see in me that attracts that behavior in others? And I figured out what it was, and I had to learn how to respect myself first. They no longer had that power over me, and their problem got fixed. Not with a drug. Come on, America, wake up. Quit taking the easy way or the lazy way out. Quit coming up with excuses to take drugs. Listen to what's going on these commercials. Drug for acne, but side effect, it can kill you. Benefits versus risk. Risk is you can die. If I get depressed over something now, I work on it up here, and if I need to extra help, I eat appropriately because different foods have different effect on your body and how you think, and I take Kava for a short period of time because that bull crap about Kava might cause liver damage wasn't even done right, and even if it did, you'd have to drink it like it's coffee day after day after day before it did. The minimal amount that you need to help pull you out of a depression does not hurt you, it helps you. And you don't need it forever. I'm not going to completely cut down I'm not going to completely cut down doctors and that. I believe they're there to help people, and there are doctors out there, really great doctors. But as far as my thing is, sometimes you need a medication for an emergency situation because most natural alternatives take time. If I break my bone, I'm going to the hospital. I need a stitch, I'm going to the hospital. I'm glad they're there. They were there for me when I had umbilical cellulitis in my stomach. But then after comes looking up natural alternatives. Come on, America. Use your head. Use your head. Stop taking the lazy way out. Start taking responsibility for yourself. Fix your life. And that's my thing for today, and I'll probably write all this stuff down later. Goodbye, America.